Hello friends, how are you all? We are the first day of Ramadan here in Dubai. So, Ramadan Kareem to you all, and it's lovely to see you here this evening. The topic of this evening's Insta Live session is how to support our little people with big feelings. And this is really relevant at the moment because we're in quarantine, lockdown to a greater or lesser extent, depending on where we are in the world. But the themes I'm going to talk about this evening and the support we're going to talk about this evening is relevant whether or not we're in lockdown, whatever else is going on in our lives. These are themes that are relevant. This is support that is relevant for our children, whatever the situation or whatever extenuating circumstances there are. So you may have seen my post a couple of days ago regarding the behaviours that may manifest in our young children when during this period of lockdown or any period of stress or any period of challenging times like moving house or changing schedule, things like that. So those big feelings, and I'll quickly just do a recap of the post from the other day. So there could be more tantrums than usual, there could be whining, which is a word I really hate, and it sounds awful when our children do it, and it sounds really awful when we say it as well, whining or whinging, but that's what it is. They could become really fussy, they could become really clingy, they could become quite aggressive with either their siblings or a helper or pets. So there's a whole range of behaviour. They could become disruptive, they could seem to be destructive in our home environment, and fears developing overnight, like fears of dogs or fear of the dark. There's a whole range of behaviours that can exhibit when a child is feeling out of their skin or out of sorts, as it were. And the first thing for all of us to know in this scenario is that all of these behaviours are normal. They are to be expected because our children are not able to think with the rational part of their brain. That's the prefrontal cortex. They're not able to rationalize yet. They're not able to know and think and understand, oh, I'm feeling stressed because I'm in lockdown, I'm feeling stressed because my rhythm's out of sync, I'm feeling stressed because I'm not having my usual school routine, I'm feeling stressed because I'm missing my friends. They're not able to have this reasoning part of their brain. So their behaviour is really going to manifest in some quite challenging ways for us as parents. And actually, if we think about it as parents, we as adults aren't behaving in a really rational way at this time either, hey? We are probably blowing up. We're probably being a bit more sensitive than usual because of the extenuating circumstances. And we are meant to know what we're talking about and what's going on. So we can imagine what it's like for our children as well. So the first thing, as I said, is to know that all of these behaviours, whether it's clinginess or whether it's the aggression towards a pet or a sibling, or whether it's the fussiness or whether it's the sleep pattern that's disturbed, all of these are normal behaviours and they are to be expected, and they are to be celebrated because it means that our children or our child is releasing what they need to. We don't want this stress trapped in their body, actually. We want them to be releasing, whether it's through a tantrum or whether it's whether it's the whinging or the fears or what have you. This is all just this is all communication, and this is an opportunity for us to connect. So we want that communication. It may not be the communication that we want to hear, and it may not be in a way that we want to hear it either, because the tantrums and the aggression to the pet and all those other things are pretty difficult to deal with, aren't they? But it is behaviour. I read a really great quote this week saying that behaviour is just communication, or emotions are just communication, and I really love that, because that's what it is. The way they behave is communicating something to us. So even when it's even when it's negative behaviour that we might not like. We've got to welcome it all in. And there's a really great practitioner, educator called Janet Lansbury, and she talks about rolling out the red carpet for the big feelings. And I love that expression, and I love that concept. And when either Olivia or Harry are in that stage of meltdown or crisis or tantrum, whatever you want to call it, I really have that visual image of rolling out the red carpet, thinking, phew, they're having a meltdown, or they're behaving disruptively, or they're whining, or they're being aggressive, or whatever it is. That means that there's something, there's an opportunity for us to connect. They're trying to tell me something, so we can really get stuck into it now. Do you know what I mean? So we've gone over the behaviours that may be exhibited during stressful times. Now let's look at how we can support them, and what we can do to connect in these difficult moments, these challenging moments, rather than disconnect. Because a lot of these behaviours that we see, because they're pretty undesirable, aren't they? And they trigger us in different ways because of our own history and because of our own stress at the moment. And then our children's behaviour then triggers us in other ways as well. And so this behaviour is can become pretty undesirable. And we don't want to have to deal with it, quite frankly. But fear not, I'm going to talk about how we can really welcome in these feelings and welcome in this method of communication, and how we can support them through it. So before we go any further, please send me an emoji to tell me how you're feeling today, because I'd love to see. And I'm going to see if I can do mine as well, because, oh goodness, that's not right. Let's see if I can do this. I don't know. Okay, comment. Can I comment? Oh yes, I can. Okay, can I send? These are emojis of how I'm feeling today. There we go. Can everyone send me how they're feeling today? This is last time for my first session, I didn't do any interaction on the screen, but today I'm managing to do a bit more, and hopefully I'm going to really get the hang of this before too long. So, the question is, what we're here is how to support our little children with their big feelings. And the really simple answer to that actually is to be present. That's all we need to do. It is as simple and as complicated as that. And what is another way I can say it is being present. It's saying less and being more. It's staying with them. It's giving love, offering love, even though they may not be lovable in that moment of crisis or bad behaviour. We hold space for them. We acknowledge that this isn't, whatever's going on in the current situation isn't working for them, and we just sit with that to the best of our ability. And that it's going to look slightly different in different situations, but mainly what that means is if they're crying, or they're whinging, or they're whining, or they're being disruptive, or they're being aggressive, it's getting close and being with them and saying, I'm here to support you. Just saying, I'm here to support you. And if they are if they're already gone past the build-up point, as it were, and they're in full crisis or meltdown or tantrum mode, then it's sitting as close as they will allow you, and just saying, I'm here when you need me. I can see you need to release, and letting it be. We don't need to keep a steady stream there. It's just a steady stream of words, a steady stream of cheerleading. We can just say it once, and we can just be close, and with our loving presence, that is what offers them connection. That's what offers them the hand of love, or the arms of love, if you see what I mean. because all these feelings that they have, they need to come out, which is why they're coming out in this way. They really, really need to come out. So our role, I believe our role, is to let them come out, and to facilitate that, not pushing them away, not saying, oh, it's going to be okay, or not even trying to rationalize in that moment. It's very much just a being there, and as I said before, saying less and being more. Just be there. And this is going to depend slightly on what your child's preference is in this state. So in this state of meltdown, neither of my children want to be held. Some children will want to be held and will want that closeness. Neither of my children do, and actually my son would rather go to another room, and if you go near him or go in the room, he will scream and shriek at you to leave, and he'll say, I don't want to look at you. He'll even say, I don't want to look at your face, which obviously is quite intense, but funny. I can see the funny side when it's happening, thankfully. But in those times, it's really crucial we don't leave them on their own. As I say, even though they may be screaming and shouting and saying, leave me alone, I don't want you, it's really important that they're not left alone, they're not abandoned. So what I will say is something like, I can see you're really upset, I hear that you don't want me to be close to you, and I'll move away. And then he'll shout at me, move away, and we'll kind of get some type of compromise where I'll kind of sit close to the door and he can just see my feet. He doesn't want to see my face, as we've already said. And then at that stage, and then he'll say, don't look at me, and he'll be really, really cross. But it's almost like when we get into that dialogue of when he's arguing about how close he wants me to be, it's almost like I know he's coming out of it. I know he's going to be okay. Do you know what I mean? So in that situation, if he's really insistent that he doesn't want me close, then what I do is I'll just grab a book and I'll sit and I'll read. Often I'm probably pretending to read, but I'll just sit there, and my aim, as it were, is just to offer my loving presence and nothing else. I'm not trying to fix. I'm not going to enter into a conversation about how he's feeling or what's going on. I can see how he's feeling because he's having a meltdown. He said very clearly that he doesn't want me to be close to him, and then I just wait for it to pass, and I'll sit and I'll read the book, either to myself or out loud. If I feel that he's sort of calming a little, then I'll start reading the book, and then he can join if he wants to. But the key thing I'm saying is don't leave them on their own. Even if they say, I don't want to see you, I don't want to be near you, I want to be on my own, go away, move away. Try and stay close, respect their body boundary, but try and stay close so they're not on their own and they're not being left alone with these big feelings. My daughter is different. She doesn't want to be held and comforted when she's in that moment. However, she does like me to be close, and again with her it will be either just sitting and doing some deep breathing, waiting for her storm to pass and everything to release, or just picking up a book and starting to read a book, looking at a book, so that I'm there but I'm not in her face, I'm not smothering her, I'm not trying to get her out of this situation. I'm just bearing witness to it and holding space for it. And actually one of the questions I've had about this topic is what is holding space? What does that actually mean? And people in lots of healing circles, we talk about this of holding space, and it really means being rather than doing, just offering a safe container in which anyone, a child or an adult, can release their feelings, can express themselves, can express their frustration, without judgment, without criticism, without us trying to fix it actually, but just allowing them to cry or rage or whatever it is that they need to do in the moment. And so that's what holding space is. And it's very, very hard for us as parents to do this with our children, particularly our young children, because they may not have the verbal skills to explain anything. They will just rage. We, coming from our upbringing, we may not have had an experience where it is acceptable for us to have tantrums, have meltdowns, express our feelings, be angry, be rude to our parents. We may not have had that experience at all. So for us to sit and bear witness to our children's feelings in this way can be really, really challenging. And it can make us feel really, really uncomfortable, and it can make a million things go through our mind about, I just want them to stop, and when will this noise stop, and will make us feel quite angry and uncomfortable, and all of these range of emotions. And that's why it's really helpful if we have got our plan A, plan B, and plan C is just to sit down and do nothing other than maybe pick up a book and read it. That's why it's really, really helpful. We don't need to do anything else than that, particularly if we can feel that we're getting triggered, if we feel that we're not going to be able to respond from the best version of ourselves. It's really useful to just know that all we need to do is sit and be and let them release these feelings, let them get out everything that they need to. Samir, hi Samir, has just added a really good question, which is, what if they start hitting us? This is really, really good. Actually, my son went through a stage of doing this, and I just blocked and said words to the effect of, I can't let you hit me. I'm just going to put my hands here so you can't hit me. So it's a very, in as neutral voice as we can, and as they're little, it's quite easy to do that, isn't it? We're a lot stronger than them. So we put our hands and say, I can't let you do that. And almost again, when they start hitting us, it's you're nearing the culmination of this. You're almost nearing the crescendo, because they're just so out of their skin by that. You can see their little darlings, they're just so out of their skins and on another planet. So my approach in that is just to block as much as we can and say, I can't let you hit me. I'm going to hold my hands up to block you. So you're still doing it from a place of love. So they know that you're not being aggressive. You're still being the parent that's being the container for their feelings, if that makes sense. Actually, at this point, are there any more questions? Does anyone have any other questions before we move on? You can add them now. I'm going to have a sip of lemon if anyone wants to add any questions. After the incident has passed, the crisis has passed, the meltdown has passed, what we can do is validate what their feelings were in that moment. Or you can say something like, that was a really, really big release. How do you feel now? You can start to help them in a way, join up the dots, so that they had a big release and you held the space for them, and that they feel better after that release. You know, it's still really in that collaborative, supportive sense. And my son Harry, when we have this conversation afterwards, he'll say, yeah, I feel better now. He'll nod, and then he might say, oh, I was cross because this happened or that happened. But it's okay if he doesn't explain it, but sometimes just me acknowledging that was a big release. You know, how do you feel now? It allows him to find the words to say what it was that was bothering him. And then afterwards you could say, oh, you really wanted to go to the playground, or you really want to go to the beach, or you really want to play with your friends. Everything's really different at the moment, isn't it? and have a little conversation about it. We don't want to attach too much importance on it as well. It's a bit of a balance, this stage of sort of like a small chat afterwards. You don't want to turn it into a thing, but equally, if you feel that they want to talk, and obviously if they're a child, I mean, my son's 3, so older than that age. If you feel that they want to talk about something they're verbal enough to explain what might be bothering them, then that's great. But again, try not to put words into their mouth. Try not to make it into a big thing. Just allow them to speak as they need to, and then you can affirm what they're saying and mirror back what they're saying. So if Harry said, for example, I really wanted to play with the blocks and Olivia had them, or Olivia knocked my blocks down, or whatever it was, I'll just mirror back, okay, you wanted to play with the blocks, didn't you? And he'll say, yes, I wanted to play with the blocks, and then sort of mirror backwards and forwards until he feels he doesn't have anything else to say. Usually what will happen is he'll then release everything he wants to, jump up and then go back and play with Olivia, or jump in the paddling pool, or whatever he was doing before. And that's what's really wonderful about this approach of really allowing those feelings, is that you can actually see them empty all of those big feelings and then just get on with life afterwards. They're not having to hold on to them, not having to repress them so that they build up and up and up and up for another time, or actually build up for adulthood. A lot of us, if you're in the same generation as me, then because we weren't allowed, as it were, to express these really, really strong feelings and emotions, and tantrums and things weren't acceptable, then all of these repressed feelings build up and cause goodness knows what problems later on in life. So isn't it wonderful just to give this gift now, where we can go, okay, your brain is not yet fully developed, I know that, and I'm going to support you with that. And it's as simple as that. We know that their brains aren't as developed as ours, and we need to support them so that their brains can grow and their emotional intelligence can grow, and they can become whole human beings who are able to give and receive love limitlessly. And that's what we want. Before we finish, do you have any more questions? Anybody? And I'm just going to see, I had some questions. Oh yes, one of the questions was, should I be worried that my child is having lots of meltdowns every day, lots of tantrums every day? Given, I don't know where you are in the world, the mummy who asked that question. However, depending on what type of lockdown you're in, I would say it's entirely normal. You have a 2-year-old who is going through lots and lots of developmental stuff. They may be going through a developmental leap. It may be the change in rhythm. It may be the lockdown. It may be all of these factors. It's entirely normal for a 2-year-old to have lots of meltdowns during the day anyway, because that is the nature of their development at that stage, and even more so in these stressful situations. And it is time consuming, of course, for us, and we'll just be in the middle of doing something, and then we'll need help, and then we'll guide through this process of them releasing their feelings. But I promise you, it is all about connection, and it is worth it, because this is really the support they need, and this stands them in such good stead as they get older. And I've just completely lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about releasing and the importance of it. Okay, I can't remember, it'll come back. So yeah, it's several times a day is completely normal. Roll out the red carpet for it. The more that they release, the better it is for them. They're not holding the stress in their bodies, as we said earlier. They are not trying to fit into our ideal of what they should be like as a child. If we can just accept them, validate their feelings, and be with them when they need to release these big feelings, that is such a beautiful gift in itself, just to let them be who they're being in that moment. And from our side, all we need to know is that this will pass. This stage, whether it's the lockdown, the quarantine, or it's the intense feelings and intense emotions that our child is experiencing, this time is going to pass. It really will. And the more we can stay centered in ourselves and trust ourselves and the way we are supporting our child, then the more that our children feel that confidence that we have, that feel that intrinsic sense of self that we have, that we know that we can handle it. And what's that great expression? Fake it until you make it. Even if you don't feel like you're doing the right thing, if you're just sitting and being present with them, you are. So just exude that confidence. When we have that confidence, our children will feel that confidence, and then they're going to look to us even more as their leader and their guide, and that rudder for them. So don't be afraid of feeling confident as a parent. You know, you're doing a great job. Just being present with them is such a gift. It's such a gift for them during this time, and in any time actually. I know what I was going to say. It just suddenly came back to me. Things like trust and deep connection are built with our children. Those bonds are formed with our children in difficult times. They're not formed in the easy times. Our children really learn about who they can respect and who they can trust and who they can turn to when we've got these stressful situations, and when they're in meltdown, and when they're out of their skins. If we can be calm within ourselves, that's where they learn to trust us. They may have happy memories of family holidays and going to the beach and all of that stuff. That's all conscious memories. But the unconscious memories are the ones of how we deal with conflict, how we handle ourselves and how we handle them in conflict, how we can support them. And this is what's really important about allowing them to release, and just accepting them where they are and validating these feelings. So do we have any more questions before we finish this evening? As per usual, I've waffled on for longer than I wanted to. If you have any more questions, do let me know. And thank you for the little hearts that come up on the side of the screen. I still really don't know how to answer them other than say thank you for them. If you have any more questions, then I'd love to hear them now. And please send me a message or a comment. And after this live, and if you're not already doing so, then do follow me. My next Insta Live will be this coming Tuesday, for Top Tip Tuesday, and I'm just getting a few ideas for that. But just to give you a little sneak preview, I'm going to be discussing why we shouldn't correct our children. And I'm sure it's going to raise a few eyebrows for people who aren't familiar with not correcting their children, but I will reveal it all on Tuesday. Yes, Samir, I can save the live. I think that is at the end. It just gives me the option in the top left-hand corner to save. So I will try and do that. And then it will go on my story for 24 hours, I think, if that's right. Thank you so much all for joining me this evening, and I will see you all again on Tuesday for Top Tip Tuesday. And the subject is, as I said, why we shouldn't correct our children. And thank you for the hearts. Can I put the hearts back? Is that a heart? No. Oh goodness, that's not a heart, is it? Oh dear. What is this? I've just pressed something and I don't know what it is, so I'm gonna... Okay, cool. There's more hearts. Thank you for the hearts. And I will see you all on Tuesday. Bye bye. Ramadan Kareem. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.